What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Sports Bible Podcast. I am Richie. This is Rob. You know our names by now. Me and him have very loud hats on. He's got an NBA Finals hat, and that looks like a shirt you get at the boardwalk. And I have a hat. It's from every team. Where is it? There's Boston for Rob, and I think the Mets. Yeah, the Mets. So yeah, that's our intro. Is my new hat, and Rob looks like if he had hair or longer hair, he could be in the brand or the band LMFAO.
I wasn't going to wear the hat until I just came out. I debated it, saw you with that on, and I was like, why haven't I worn this since we made it for the pod yet throughout the summer? And yeah, here we are.
Crazy the difference in environment. You're outside in the porch. It's a nice day outside. Looks like a tiki bar, and I have bins full of hats and Christmas decorations behind me and water bottles. Look, there's a whole thing of water bottles right there. I don't know if you can see it.
I love when it's like Christmas, like Halloween in the background. I've always like read them in the back.
Oh, yeah. OCD for my family, so everything's labeled.
No, it should.
So, speaking of, I don't know where I was going with that, but Kevin Durant. Okay. This we said me and Rob were talking before we started recording. Kevin Durant is the first person to make Kyrie Irving look like a sane human, like meaning not like, meaning Kyrie Irving has been silent basically in the last couple months from the media's perspective. Things internally happen all the time. And Kevin Durant has somehow made himself more of a distraction than Kyrie Irving. That's the word, distraction. That is nearly impossible. But, if anyone were to do the impossible, it would be Kevin Durant. So,
Yes, sir. You want me to? All right, yeah. So
you can go on. My take's pretty small on this situation. But if you want to elaborate on like the actual news, you can.
Yeah, you're right. Like the last pod we did, we talked about, it was before him going to the front office and saying it's him, or me, with Josiah and to Josiah with Sean Marks and Steve Nash. And we talked about it a little bit and we compared it to your Browns. And I was like, who won't be doing, the heart and the swap that they shouldn't do is the Celtics for Durant. I said it wasn't going to happen, and here we are today. I'm very happy throughout this whole afternoon that my favorite guy, Jaylen Brown, remains, rightfully so. Brad Stevens knew it. The front office knew it. The city knew it. And, for who he is on and off the court, you've heard this rant before. And we talked about, not only did I say the Celtics, it doesn't make sense, but we gouged some of the other fits. We talked about Toronto, how if you put together a package like that, you could argue, or you could have argued, I think me and you talked about it, that I don't know if I would do it if you threw in Scott Barnes. You could argue the Heat. That's why Miami and Boston was never going to happen, because they weren't going to trade. Bam and Ben can't be on the same team. Miami wasn't going to trade Jimmy. Like, what else did they have? Hero,
Robinson picks. Also, we saw Shams talked about Memphis and Milwaukee gauging the market.
Yeah, I was about to say that. And, that's the thing, was the two best packages. Look at me with both hands already. The two best packages was the Celtics with the best assets, or realistically, that I've been saying and have been saying to others, especially the New Orleans Pelicans. Me and you talked about it. But the thing is they don't know Durant's mindset, if he would have been happy there or not, if he wanted to be there. And look at the last year he had in Golden State, where he was just completely miserable after the fight with Draymond. But if you threw in Ingram, Herb Jones, Devontae Graham compensation, Durant and Zion could have been amazing. And I think Durant would have liked it there. But on paper, I felt like that was the best thing besides the Celtics package. But we knew when we last talked about it on the pod, rightfully so, that you just talked about Kyrie, and it's amazing how KD's actually making him look sane, and how he
Or
actually
less of a distraction. Sane's a little bit harsh.
and it's we say whatever with him at this point.
Yeah, any word you could think of can describe Kyrie Irving. You can call him. I don't even know. You can make up a word. It probably makes sense for him.
Yeah, and it's amazing how KD's actually making him look like
a model. I don't want to say model citizen because both of them aren't bad guys. Like
to
they're
an
not.
organization.
They're not. They're in no situation like Miles Bridges. None of that. If you don't know the Miles Bridges situation, look it up. We will not go into detail because it is disgusting.
Yeah, he's still yet to be signed too. But anyways, the last month or 2 months, and you could say this was even before, this was maybe a month ago, about close to when Kyrie was at our school with More Than an Athlete, having that and run. A little bit before that was when he started showing his dedication and support to the Brooklyn Nets ownership on social media and the organization. And then come Kane, it was like, all right, yep, he's the guy, he's the one. Like, not even just saying that because we go to Kane, but like on the internet, he was supporting them, everything.
Well, we went there. We graduated. Some left earlier than others to get to the graduation, but Should we explain that story before we go any further?
Yeah, but just to finish my point,
okay, that's fine.
Not even just saying that being biased with Kane, but like his home is New Jersey, and the Nets, it's been a mutual, on the same page more than Kevin Durant these last 2 months. And as we saw, as Shams reported, they've been informing teams that they plan to keep him. The Lakers rumor's basically over. And that's what I was going to say to you, and what I said last pod was like, he should stay, Kevin, if Kyrie is dedicated and ready to go, and he'll go to work. And if Ben's ready, because besides Harden and going into last season, this could be arguably the best team they've had. They've made moves as if they're going to be a top team in the NBA, and that's what they did. They got TJ Warren. They revamped the bench a bit. We don't like Steve Nash as a coach, but that is what it is. You have Kevin Durant, Simmons, and Irving. It's just they have to stay on the floor. But let's talk about graduation.
Yeah, before we get into my take on this, because you actually brought up a good point that I want to bring up. But so April, like mid-April, end of April, me and Rob had graduation, and it was in the Prudential Center. Me and Rob both live in Central to South Jersey, depending on if you believe there's a Central Jersey. I do. There's a Central Jersey. Jersey's huge. There's a Central Jersey. Anyway,
yeah.
I don't know if you agree with me on that, but we can agree to disagree hard on that one.
We could say. I never really cared, but we could say.
It's not the end of the world. But so we're like a little down, like on the southern side compared to the Prudential Center. And so I leave my house at 5 a.m. They said we have to be there at 7. Okay. So I leave my house 5 a.m., want to be early. It starts at 9, I believe, or 8:30, one of those two. So I'm I'm on the Parkway. I'm going to the Turnpike. If you guys live in New Jersey or New York, you probably know this. I'm getting on the Turnpike from the Parkway. I'm getting on. I call Rob, been like, hey, if you're there already, did you find parking? No, and this is Rob talking now. I just left. I'm like, dude, we have to be there at 7. It's like 6, but mind you, it's 6:45. We both live like an hour and a half away, hour and 15 away. I get there at 7 just to stand there for an hour and a half. Thank God one of my friends that was in a bunch of classes with me was there. So I was talking with her the whole time. And then we sit down, like, to graduate, I text Rob, where are you? He goes, turn around. I'm like, how did you do that? How did you leave when you were supposed to be here? And we still you got there on time, basically. You just walked in. You just walked.
Yeah. I just had magic tricks, basically. I just snapped my finger and there I was now.
I wouldn't make that a habit, but yeah.
No, of course not. But I also didn't know that we had to line up that early till you told me.
We didn't have to.
Yeah, and I was It ended up working, but I was in a deep panic after you told me that. And then I was hitting traffic, and then
Yeah.
it was rainy, and then there was an accident, and then
Yeah. Getting onto the parkway for me, there was an accident.
so from here to the Rock, what they call the Prudential Center,
Yeah.
old time Devils fan, it's an hour and change, and the time kept increasing and increasing. And then so I was debating on just me and my dad were like, are we just visiting family and getting breakfast? And then you're like, nah, we gotta go. And then you and my other friend were monitoring it for me the whole time. I get out the car, I'm struggling to put on the cap and gown and the
Oh
cord.
my, that was so hard.
And then someone's like, whoever saw you, they're like, congratulations over there. So then they just helped me get in. They brought me to our communications department. Next thing you know, I'm magically behind you, about it.
Yeah.
5 people in
I'm
between.
like, what the? I'm thinking you're still on the parkway somewhere. And what do you call it? I putting on the cap and gown was honestly harder than the 4 years of school. Like that was, but oh god. Anyway, let's get back to basketball. Actually, I'm gonna say this. Have we done a podcast since I've gotten back from vacation? I think so, right?
Beginning of August, I believe.
Then yeah, I was back then.
Uh-huh.
So I was we drove to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. 9 hours away. I was driving. We were 7 hours away. I drive for an hour straight. The time never went back down. That's how much traffic there was. Rob disappeared.
Now I'm changing places. I'm here.
You're good. The world wants to see you travel.
I'm sweating. I can't do the breezeway. Continue that, Melissa.
Yeah. So, for the listeners, I'm driving. And like the GPS has like arrival time, time left. I swear, every time I would gain 25 miles, it would go up another half hour because there would be more traffic. And that was we left at 10. We left to go there at 3 a.m. We got there at 5 p.m. So 14 hours. It was supposed to be 9 hours, 14 hours. And then on the way home, we left at 10 a.m. We got home at midnight. I drove both ways. It was the most miserable ride ever. If you're going there, fly. Don't even think about even trying to drive there.
Especially driving both ways. Like I go to Boston, and I'm the 5-hour ride on the way back. I'm done with life, and that's me talking about my favorite city. But yeah, I'd rather fly for only an hour at this point.
Rob's new look is great.
Heard me, right?
All right. So that's our little story. So back to basketball. Before Rob brought up the point of like the whole Simmons, Irving, Durant thing, Stephen A. Smith said like they're contenders, which they are in theory. But how many times, if you have Twitter, you know what freezing cold takes is, you know what images that precede unfortunate events is for like sports images. How many times have we seen that then 3 of them, or first it was Durant, Irving, Harden, nothing ever comes to fruition.
Or even just
now,
them.
Yeah, Ben Simmons has yet to play a game. I think he's healthy now. Stephen A. Smith said he ran into him. He said he's healthy.
Starting 5-on-5, I believe.
Yeah, but it always seems to be something. Something always gets in the way that just pushes back. Like, okay, now we're set. Okay, now we're set. Because I guarantee you, there is a real chance Steve Nash will be fired by Christmas, and that's going to put another wrench in everything. Because you think they agreed to this after Kevin Durant wanted Steve Nash fired, and we haven't actually talked about this since Kevin Durant said he wanted Steve Nash fired. Buddy, didn't you want him hired?
And he's your best friend from Golden State.
Didn't you want, like, I'm not saying Steve Nash is a good coach, and I'm going to get into that in a second too. I don't know if you technically wanted Sean Marks, but you want them all fired, yet they're the ones that got you Ben Simmons, the ones that got you Kyrie Irving, the ones that put everything in place for you. I'm not going to go on more of a rant because we've talked about this ad nauseum, and now it's over with. And with Steve Nash's point, if you were gonna pick one, I would honestly pick Kevin Durant because you're probably gonna fire Steve Nash anyway because he's not a great coach. So if you, it's kind of like closing your eyes and pick one and just hoping it works because they're both gonna end up leaving soon. Um, I was gonna say something. Oh my god, I lost my
And
train of thought.
hold the thought, but like, when has Sean Marks done a bad job too? When has he done a
Was Sean Marks the guy there with Russell?
yes? The he didn't make the KG and Pierce. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
He didn't make the KG and Pierce trade. Billy King did. I forget what year Marks got hired, but I know he was there for Russell and them.
He's 6'10".
Who?
Sean
Sean?
Marks. Can he play power forward?
No, but so
Oh, he did
James
play.
wants out. I was gonna
Mhm.
say I actually thought
He
I
played for the
knew that.
Knicks.
James, oh nice, wants out, gets Ben Simmons out of it. Wants out, nothing to do with the team, to do with Kyrie Irving and his dedication, most likely, as we've been saying for a year. Gets Ben Simmons out of it. And then coming into last year, he brings in all veterans too. He brings in Aldridge back. He gets Millsap,
2016.
Patty Mills. Okay, Patty Mills. And then coming into this year, like they kept their confidence moving forward. They got Warren, and they just focused on Ben Simmons and getting him
They got
healthy.
Royce
And
O'Neal. He kind of replaces
yes,
Bruce Brown. That was the whole Windhurst
everyone
thing.
laughs. Yeah, everyone laughs at that, but he's a good fit.
He's Bruce Brown.
He's definitely
Probably
a good
better,
fit.
probably a little bit better shooter. That was actually a
Yeah,
very yeah. No, I was gonna say, that was a very good pickup by
I
the
said,
Nuggets because they kind of lacked like a little bit of like defensive intensity. Like Jamal Murray, Jokic can't guard a chair. Murray's nursing his knee. Michael Porter can't stay healthy, so you need like a defensive guy. And I think Brown would be he's a nice guy there. I didn't get why they traded Monty Morris and Will Barton. They probably traded Morris because they love Bones Highland. But Will Barton's a good piece. That was probably a salary dump. I'm not really getting into Will Barton on this podcast, but
yeah, and that I read that Denver loves Caldwell Pope, and they have the past few years, which he
well, because
fits too.
he's
Because
kind of like Bruce Brown, like defensive
yeah, and then
three
like
point,
3 and D. Well,
maybe
as we
not
know,
three.
we both can shoot better than Bruce. But where I
Yeah,
told you on the phone before, where he fits with the Nuggets, is like his fundamentals and like the intangibles he can do next to Jokic. But
the glue
on
guy.
Denver, we're going to talk about sleeper teams in a bit. But Denver, like you get Murray back, you have KCP at the 2, Porter Jr.,
Would you
and then
start Highland?
not yet, no. If you have Murray and KCP, not yet.
You would start.
Especially when you need some second unit help too.
Who's
I
there
wouldn't.
for?
I guess I'm forgetting.
Yeah, they're a weird
Gordon.
team. They're like always good. They've been consistently good now for like feels like 5 to 10 years. Maybe not that long, but since like the Ty Lawson days. Remember that guy? Let me see their roster. Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, I might have lagged. I was saying real fast. I was like Gordon. But
Oh yeah, I didn't hear you.
they'll be in one of my sleepers. That's
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
they got a pretty solid roster. I know Austin Rivers was talking about the Knicks. Him and Theo Pinson both liked it there, but it is what it is. But yeah, I don't know how we got on the Nuggets, but back to the Nets. Like now, I'm not calling you guys favorites until you prove it because you've shown me every reason why you can't win it. Now show me why you can. Like Durant, like it's pretty obvious he needed Steph. Prove it. Prove that you don't. And if it takes a smaller shoe, because they beat Milwaukee if he's got a smaller shoe, which is unfortunate, obviously. But like last year was an utter failure. You got swept. Like I don't know why people think next year is going to be different. Like is Ben Simmons changed that much? And Boston improved.
Yeah, and Philly, if James is healthy, will be very good.
And I think Harden might be settled in now. I think.
Yeah,
Again, he's a wild card
that,
too.
the pictures of him jumping rope with the weights or whatever, like he looks skinnier, and it's all about that hamstring. And
Well, yeah,
it's
that's a big thing when you're heavy. Well,
so, of
you know what I mean. Like if you have like a little bit of beef on you, you have to be very flexible.
course. And so, I'm seeing all these like Nets reporters that are like mine and your age that just got in the business, like Cody Mallory and them. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure he is pretty new to the business. Matt Brooks, people like that. And, I'll give a comment here and there about like Kyrie Irving's, their raves about him, or like trying to like credit him to anything. And of course, there is always something there with Brooklyn and Boston, since obviously KG, obviously Kyrie, all Pierce, all this movement the past 10 years. So he's tweeting before. He's like, it might not sound crazy, which I'm not saying he's wrong, but it might not sound crazy to give Kyrie an extension early in the season. And I quoted it. I'm like, can we not go by August and the month of August dedication when we've seen his recent past and how he's been? Like, can we wait for him to play every game? Like, because that was the rumor. Like, if he wasn't going to be there and if Kevin didn't want to be there, go to the Lakers. We'll trade it to the Lakers by February.
I was gonna say, they always say, I mean, it's never really true. There's always teams that aren't going to be good. At the start of the season, for any sport, everyone's 0-0. Everyone has the equal opportunity to win the finals, World Series, Super Bowl, Stanley Cup. It's not necessarily true, but you get it. In reality, it is technically.
Mentality.
But everyone's always in the best shape of their life in August for basketball or football. Everyone's always in the best shape of their life in February for baseball. Everyone's always 100% committed because nothing has gone wrong yet, because nothing can go wrong if you don't play games. Unless, like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously he's committed now. There's nothing on the slate. The slate's clean. Once you start marking that slate up, if he doesn't like it, he's going to wipe it himself.
And not for nothing, Kyrie, like, even if you are, it's about time.
like finally.
You're in a contract year. That's why.
Yeah.
So you're going to show up to the Sparks games. You're going to go to Kane whenever they ask you to. You're going to be.
It looks good to do it now, but show up in the season. Don't keep going to Kane when you have a game against the Suns on Thursday night on TNT.
I like that. Not for nothing, too. When I was in the sports writing class in the fall, my teacher, Jerry Carino, who writes for Asbury Park Press, like when we were talking about this whole situation and when Alex Schiffer, Nets beat writer for The Athletic, was our guest speaker, and we were talking about the whole Kyrie thing and learning and writing scenarios, he would even say, like, this guy is not one to be willing to talk to a reporter since high school. So, like, this isn't anything new, and it's just piled on over the years. And, like, if you finally come to realization and admitted your flaws and admitted any wrongdoing that you have, like, it's about time, Kai.
Yeah. All right. We're going to pivot off of this because I'm sure if we've talked enough about this situation now. We've talked about Donovan Mitchell, too. Not at the nauseum, but there seems to be – I just saw a report that the Lakers might be a third team in this deal. We've talked about that before, too. It seems to be re-engaged, and it's probably going to start to heat up really now because Durant's off the table, so more teams can now kind of go with Danny Ainge, who, by the way, you're a Celtics fan. I hate that guy. I hate him. Obviously, I don't know Danny Ainge, but I hate him because he's making my life miserable right now with the fact that he's so greedy. He wants 7 first-round picks for Donovan Mitchell when Rudy Gobert went for 4. Oh, wait, that would actually make sense. But he wants 7 first-round picks and 3 players. And apparently, did you see the thing with Tibbs? That he would rather give up Barrett than Grimes?
Oh, yes.
That's a fireable offense. RJ Barrett might turn out to not be the player we want, and they apparently don't want to give him the max deal or whatever. You don't have to, but you can't let him hit free agency. He is the best player you've drafted since what? Porzingis, but even then he's gone in how long? 2 years. Mitchell
Yeah.
Robinson is good. He's signed. Like you can't let him go. And I'm sorry, Quentin Grimes is a nice player. Why I don't why are people so enamored? Oh, he can make a Desmond Bain like jump. Yeah, and RJ Barrett can make a Jaylen Brown like jump. Which one are you like are you gonna take? Like I don't get it. He's a good player, Quentin Grimes, but Donovan Mitchell is a superstar scorer. Something the Knicks have been dying for since Carmelo Anthony. We
Yeah.
look at the one. I don't mean to cut you off. I think you were gonna say something. Look at
No,
the
no,
1 year Julius Randle dropped 25. We went to the playoffs. Like, am I crazy?
no, not at all. And
If
like,
they trade RJ Barrett for Mitchell, I'd be pissed though because
and
the point of getting Mitchell is to pair them.
yeah,
You get Barrett more open shots, probably open up his left hand a little bit more. Um, like I don't get the enamoring. I get you don't want to give up quickly top and end Grimes. I get that, but I'll gladly give up just one of them and picks or hit. I saw the latest mock, and I think we're gonna do mocks in a second. It was Fournier, Toppin, and 5 first, and money, which I personally don't think is enough because a lot of the rumors have been 3 players, so you'd have to add more picks instead of that. But
especially knowing Danny with picks.
yeah, I mean, I think if the Knicks hold ground and don't overspend, it's not the worst thing in the world because I love Donovan Mitchell and Mets fan, New York, I love that. But at the same time, you can't strip your entire team for a guy that hasn't proven to get out of the second round.
Very good points. Um, you know, you heard me a million times say not only here but to you. I definitely said it the last couple episodes as well. How this is, I'm for him in the orange and blue. This is the guy. You don't know. Again, 24 is going to have a good market of free agents, especially if Jaylen Brown tests it or
And draft
someone.
classes, you don't know.
Yeah, and it's just like there's not going to be that KD sweepstakes, that 2010 LeBron sweepstakes, that any superstar sweepstakes that they can put themselves in contention for. And not for nothing, just look at everything. Young superstar, right? He's got some holes still when it comes to passing or defending. That happens.
You could be a star and not be top 5. There's a reason why there's only 5 of them.
Exactly.
That's how math works, guys.
Yeah, and like young superstar, as I've said a billion times, loves the city, embraces it, embraces the spotlight, loves your New York Mets, goes to a bunch of games, loves Steve Cohen, says when he leaves pressers at MSG 24/7, go Mets. He embraces New York City. I wanted to call it the City of Stars, but I'm not going to. Yeah, but he embraces it, and he's the guy. This is the opportunity, and he's under contract. Yes, so I saw one of those Brooklyn reporters tweet before as well, like Nets fans owe Rudy Gobert a big thank you, like for this and for the trade Danny received for that. But all right, you made me want to talk about Danny Ainge. So again, like I've said to you a bunch, look at the team he built in Boston, and this is what happened to him in Boston. An ace at drafting. Obviously, you see the team he put together that just made the finals. Will never lose a trade. Like, never. Even when he acquired Isaiah Thomas, it was for Marcus Thornton and a first-round pick. Any deal he made, it had to have been the obvious win. The Nets blockbuster with Pierce and them. And then has it came to an end the last few years, specifically after the IT for Kyrie swap, as you know, with Isaiah Thomas, what he did for the Celtics and what he was going through at the same time, like with his family and with the injury he dealt with, that didn't go well around the league. So that was like the nail in the coffin where everyone's like, all right, F Danny Ainge. We're done with him. Didn't go well around the league, gave Boston a bad reputation. And then just hoards draft picks at all times. Now, one of his last few moments with us where I was like, come on, like where, me and my friends, I remember saying, like, is this the end of him a little bit? And it came into fruition, obviously, within the next 2 years. The pandemic season after the bubble, where it started in December, not this past season, the one before that, when free agency started November, December, when Gordon Hayward went to Charlotte, it was Danny Ainge's top priority to keep him or bring something back in a sign and trade. The rumor was, I don't think I ever told you this, the rumor was the deal was there for the Pacers. We would have got Miles Turner. Now, again, we didn't have a Rob Williams or Al Horford. We had Daniel Tice and Thompson. But
Tristan Thompson?
Yes.
He's funny.
It was Miles Turner, and just Doug, I think. Doug McDermott. And then we would have gave just Gordon, and we would have got a pick, and we would have gave just Gordon. But Danny wanted Victor Oladipo because he thought that Gordon could make Indiana contender, which I saw the logic, but, like, come on, dude, that's the perfect. Like, if you're getting something back for Hayward, you got a big trade exception and ended up working out. But that's, as you know, that's food to make.
Was this before the injury?
This was after Hayward's, like, his going into free agency.
And that was when Oladipo was kind of at the top of his game too, right?
Not at the top, but, like, in between, like, before.
Like, it wasn't that big year he had with the Pacers?
No, like, this was, like, on his way down, kind of. Like, this was, like, after, like, wow. This was when the injuries were just like, all right, like, is he still the same?
I mean, in that sense, kind of makes sense that you didn't make the trade, like, at that time, because Hayward still hasn't gotten hurt yet. So you can't predict that to happen. I still won't watch that video.
You really never seen it before?
I did once, and I heard it, so that's it. When I watch those videos, I want to crawl up in a ball and never leave my room.
I saw it live, as you know, like, I mean, watching it. And this is me saying this. I've seen it a billion times.
Something wrong with you, bro.
I just keep remembering that. Because
I'm grabbing my knees right now because I'm, like, making sure they're, like, solid and, like, not.
That just changed everything. That changed the whole window. That changed the whole Kyrie Irving.
And it happened so quickly.
Yeah, 5 minutes in. Not that we need to, get into that, but, like, that's.
You went to a finals after that. You're fine. The Knicks have it in pity for 40 years now.
I appreciate.
We had 1 year, and they couldn't have fans in the stands.
I appreciate you allowing the rants, but yeah, this was, like you said, in the end, it worked out that they didn't make the deal because, like, Rob Williams, blossomed, and then you a year later gave up your favorite point guard and player for Al Horford. So, I love bringing it up.
I just yawned, so I'm tearing, but now I'm tearing thinking of that guy. I mean, that guy sucks. He's so bad. We're talking about Kevin Walker. He's so bad.
Is he going back?
Going back where? Charlotte? I mean, all their players seem to be getting in trouble. We talked about Miles Bridges before. You're talking about not why isn't he signed, but he's not signed yet. I'm like, yeah, no kidding.
No one's signing him.
And then the whole thing with Montrezl Harrell, P.J. Washington. Did you see that whole thing? It's not illegal, but, like,
you bring up Montrez. I mean, that's not going to affect his playing career, but I forgot he got into that, and I was wondering last night. I was like, yeah, no,
it wasn't. If you, like I said, we're not going to go into details of what they did on this podcast. Maybe P.J. Washington, but
I don't remember his. I really don't.
No, he was. Remember the whole thing with his girlfriend?
Okay, yeah.
Like, I think she cheated on. I don't know, but now they're together again. I don't know, but it was just so funny.
I do. Yeah. But Harold, it's weed. It's weed, and, like, yeah, it's an excessive amount, but, like, we've seen it before, but I forgot it. What I was going to say was I forgot, and I
Who
was
was
like,
the last NBA player that, like, besides him that got caught with that? You see it a lot in the NFL,
yeah, I mean, I
like Le'Veon Bell and the Garrett Blunt.
ate. Well, oh, D'Angelo Russell did at the airport.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Was it LeGarrette Blount and Le'Veon? I know it was Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers.
Josh Gordon.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing about Watson, how he got like 11 games and Gordon got 40 something, like in
Yeah,
total. But we talked about that last podcast on just the
and
precedent is bad.
I think Aiton was like PEDs or something like that. But yeah, it's just I'm thinking last night, like scrolling through fantasy, I'm just like, why is Trez not signed? And then I was like, I remembered, I was like, oh yeah. And plus, even if he didn't have this on his record, I probably wouldn't sign him at this point. Like I think his
Yeah.
value gone.
So before we get into something that you just brought up that I want to talk about, it happened 2 weeks ago, but we haven't had a podcast since, and I want and it'll age for 81 games, but you know what I'm talking about now. I think for baseball, Tatis. But before we do that, what would your mock trade be for Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks?
Well, if I'm Danny Ainge, I understand knowing I got that many firsts for Gobert, and I'm looking at the market and ceiling and packages to be even more significant than Rudy's.
And
So
now he's got all. I talked about less leverage, but now he has technically all the leverage because Mitchell's the only guy out there with any type of relevance.
yes, and um, so now and Danny Ainge ruined the market too with the whole Rudy thing. As like I said, the Nets fans were and reporters were happy, but
Oh,
I
look how that worked out.
so we said before when we talked about RJ, like this is the pairing that needs to happen. And like if you have to use Julius as a trade chip, I don't mean to be one of those casuals on recency bias. It's like, like one bad year he could go. But like if you had to ship him in the package with 5 first rounders, with Evan Fournier and with other compensation, it's just tough because like they don't have like you gotta throw in Toppin and 5 picks. It's just what it's looking like.
I
Cam
think
Reddish is bound to be traded at some point though, whether it's
I
Utah or wherever.
I think if Randall gets traded, and if there's no third team, if Randall gets traded, it would only cost you another player, mainly because of the salaries you'd be giving up. You'd be giving up Randall and Fournier. And also, Randall at this time is a better player than Obi Toppin, and Evan Fournier is a better player than anything you'd be getting back unless you're getting back Jordan Clarkson. Because think about who's on the Jazz. Like, everyone like destroys Fournier. He did shoot over 40% from three, and that's his job. He's just in a weird – he was in a bad role on the Knicks. Like, he should
As you
be a
know,
spot-up shooter.
listen, as you know I'm a fan. Maybe
He's a
everyone.
solid player. I don't hate him like a lot of Knicks fans do.
My friends laugh at me because they're like, whoever played for the Celtics, you just love. But like, I'm a fan of his. He can, at his best, can put the ball on the floor, doesn't much, shoots 40% from three. Had a stretch where he shot high 40s for like a month
Yeah.
or in Boston and New York, and he's a liability on defense. But that's just his thing is he's overpaid. That's all. Like he's still a good. I was saying it to a Knicks fan I met recently. I was like, I love Evan. He's overpaid, but he is a good complimentary guy that could, shoot at a high percentage and have a good scoring game and have
He shot 39% from three.
yeah, like 1 month and I think it was the pandemic year in Boston, maybe the month of May before the postseason, he shot like 46 or something like that in like a 17-game span, and like one of the better shooters in the league. And his values might not be there because of his money, of course. You could say for a lot of guys in the league, and nor do we think he deserves a significant player and maybe even impact player back. Like he's worth like after the year he just had, he's worth draft compensation. But like he's got potential. Like
Yeah.
we say in baseball, we've seen years in the beginning where they struggle at first due to salary, due to change of scenery, and obviously it's New York. We know Evan's overpaid, but like he's fine. Nothing to worry
Yeah.
about.
I just think I think as a six man, he'd be golden, to be honest. or like on a bench scorer, maybe not six man. I was looking at reports for the Knicks. Obi Toppin is expected to have the same role as last year, so sick. Cam Reddish is not expected to be in the rotation. I'm not surprised by that, especially with Jalen Brunson coming over. And I saw the thing with Grimes over Barrett. If you're not going to give Obi Toppin more minutes, then trade him. Because what are you doing just keeping him on your bench at that point? Because if he can get you Donovan Mitchell, then what's the point of worrying about a backup power forward's minutes when you can slide Reddish into that, you know? I don't know if he could play the 4. He is long, like wingspan, but I don't know if he's tall enough to play the 4, even though it's such a weird league nowadays where you can kind of be a little shorter and get away with it. I still think he's more of a 2-3 type of guy, but you'd have to get someone back from the Jazz. Like, I don't know. Is Rudy Gay on the Jazz? No, right?
I think he signed with them, or he signed with someone.
Like, if you get like him back, then he's your backup. That's fine.
I could be wrong.
I think he's on the Jazz. Let me see. Yeah, Rudy Gay is on the Jazz. Yeah,
I forgot this. What were you saying?
No, I said, is he?
I meant to say this before, like when talking about Mitchell and
he's from Brooklyn. He wants
yeah.
to come home. Yeah.
When we talked before, I actually never knew that. When we were just talking about the Mitchell package, and we just talked about Grimes and Barrett, I meant to bring this up. There's a reason why I've been telling you since that playoff year before last season. There's a reason why I've been telling you that I'm not the biggest Tibbs guy, and I think it might have been all rave. Like, yeah, he's defensive minded.
He's a little stubborn, though.
But like, yeah,
stubborn.
We're not trading Grimes or Barrett before we trade Grimes. Like, what is?
And if it's because of your contract, you know how many overpaid players there are in the NBA?
And then, yeah, that, and like, Reddish is a perfect example. Like, dude, he's got, like, play the guy. And you got Brunson, you got more guys now, but give him opportunity at least.
Like, yeah, when it comes to Barrett, if it comes to you don't know if he's going to be John Morant because of the max deal, well, first of all, I don't think he's going to get John Morant's money just because he hasn't had the accolades John Morant had. And second of all, like I said, he is projected to be a very good player. He already is. Like, he was a little bit of a volume scorer last year, but if you're a volume scorer scoring 20 points, you don't suck. You know, like Julius Randle, he didn't suck last year. He was inefficient, very inefficient, but I just think money is kind of relative in the NBA because you see these contracts. LeBron James, I know LeBron is different than everyone else. 2 years, 100 up to 120 million, and you're worried about giving this guy what? A rookie max? He's not getting Luka's 200 million. He's not getting Trae Young's money. Like, take it, like, you know?
He's going to get what Jaylen Brown got.
And who am I comping him to almost every time we talk about RJ Barrett?
He's going to get what he got. And don't get – I mean, he did put up 19 a game. I can't even say that. I was going to say I don't think he is Brown in his early stages of his career.
He put up 20.
Could be a biased comment saying that. So I'll take that back. But I guess when it comes to two-way best players in the league, but again, he's a baby.
Kawhi.
He's gonna get the just before max extension. He's gonna get the high 20s. He's gonna get like 28 per, like Jalen did before. And Jalen got it when we got Kemba Walker, like going into that season when we didn't. And people judge that because, again, no one knew who Tatum and Brown were yet, despite the one playoff run when Tatum dunked on LeBron. No one knew who they were because you went through the Kyrie and Gordon riddled year. There was the rumor that Danny wanted to build around those two, but we brought in Kemba to be the best player. So then when you do that, you bring in Enes Kanter, you bring in who else is on the team? Anyways, you bring in new faces, and then you lose all those guys. Horford was gone. You lose all those guys. when training camp starts in September, you extend Brown to that when he hasn't proved himself much besides one playoff run. Everyone was like, is he worth it? Like, are we
Yeah.
sure, Danny Ainge? And then he comes out and he's awesome and he makes those every year forever evolving leaps that I always talk about. That's where Danny Ainge looks like a genius again. And like where Boston made the right move again. And like they bet their cards on him and all he does is answer. And that's what's going to happen to Barrett when especially, this Brown comparison. He's going to keep forever evolving. He's going to surprise and he's going to get an extension like that where Knicks fans like you or like any other diehards will be like, are we sure we want to give him 4 years, 110
30
or
was
something?
137, I think the number was.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like 28, 29 per, and then he's going to come out and everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, he's worth it easily. What do we think?
He's gotten better every year.
Exactly.
Like, his defense took a little bit of a hit last year, but I think he was also playing through, like, a sprained knee. Speaking of that. But, yeah, I just don't get, like, and I just read a report. I was reading it as you were talking. They made a good point. The Knicks shouldn't care what Tibbs thinks. Would you rather keep Grimes and Barrett and get a new coach? Like what? Like, I get you want defense and stuff. The Warriors won because of their defense, but they also won because Steph Curry could shoot the ball from basically the old arena. They won because Draymond Green can pass the ball. They won because Klay Thompson could shoot. They won because Jordan Poole can create. Not saying Steph can't because he can't.
Like locked up
obviously.
tape.
Yeah, but defense matters. But you still need your star scorers. The Celtics, Tatum and Brown. So I don't know. I would be okay giving up Grimes for Donovan Mitchell. I don't get how people can make these outlandish comments on a guy that has 1 year. It's crazy how, to me, you are quickly to write off a guy. I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand. You're quickly to write off a guy if he has a bad first year. But it's the same thing the other way around. Like, if a guy has a good first year, now all of a sudden he's an all-star. So it's like, I get they're probably in the same realm. But either way, you still have to let this guy get to his second year and his third year and his fourth year. And then after that, you can evaluate RJ Barrett after 3 years has gotten better every year. So you can kind of project that a little bit. Is he going to be a top 5 player? No. Does he have to be? Absolutely not. And especially if Mitchell comes, Barrett's going to get more open shots, and it's going to if he hits his shots, which I fully expect him to do, then you'll be fine. But I don't get just because he's getting a little bit more, a lot more expensive. You just paid Jalen Brunson, who has started 1 year in the NBA.
I mean, it's the playoff run. What did that for him?
But that's my point. Like, you get what I'm saying, though? Like, RJ Barrett was – I mean, we're back in time now. Zion Williamson just got a contract. And I'm actually very high on Zion this year. I kind of flipped on him. I'm very high on what he's going to do this year. He got a contract based on potential. So why can't Barrett get it?
And when – again, like the Knicks haven't had a draft pick like him in a while. Like,
and also, I think Zion's probably the better player than Barrett, but you guys get what I'm saying.
Our pillar of Jalen is going to be the comparison for me and you to remember year after year, month after month, and we're just going to keep monitoring it by that.
I'm going to keep looking at their numbers.
Yeah, and like, it's simple as that, man. Like, fans are quick to judge. Obviously, we're guilty of going into the recency bias like category a lot as well. But like that's what that's what we talk about with journalists. And yeah, I mean, they got a Christmas Day game against Philly. Everyone thinks they're going to be better than this year.
I love Hawks fans at that.
Matters. Like, and they will be. They have Jalen Brunson. They have moves to make. They have a coach everyone's keeping a close eye on. They have a front office that's still improving. They have veterans. And, like,
hopefully Donovan Mitchell.
And not for nothing, you're tired of this whole Trae Young reign and like getting embarrassed every time the A comes into the city. Like, who's the guy to go bucket for bucket with him?
It would be
And
Mitchell.
exactly, and who's the guy to duel? Like, it's perfect.
It could be RJ Barrett, but I saw Hawks fans complaining like, "Oh, well, we own the Knicks, but we didn't get a Christmas Day game." Check the score of the game last year, of the Christmas Day game.
I'll take Hawks fan side on that. Trey didn't play and Clint didn't play.
I didn't. It's okay. I didn't know that.
My
I didn't
friend,
know that. I didn't know that, to be honest.
listen to this. My friend Matt that you met on FaceTime the other night who loves the
Yeah.
Jets. He's the Hawks fan that I've told you about.
How do you become? I'm a Browns fan. I can't really talk, but how do you become a Hawks fan?
Back since middle school. So like he was on your side about it though. He works with me at the Sands and we were in one of the rooms. I was like, all right, and I'm tired as a hoops fan. I'm tired. I get it, revenue. Nothing like the Garden on Christmas Day, and that's coming from a Celtic fan.
Yeah.
I was like, it's a tradition, revenue, all this, new star potentially on their team. They didn't get Mitchell, but they got some.
And they got some names like there's no Sasha Vujacic or I forgot the other guy's name. See, I remember their names. Lua Munson starting.
And yeah, so my friend's like, all right, it's the Knicks, like, and I was like, dude, like Brooklyn, even if this falls out, the Clippers. I was like,
Well,
you got DeJounte. Like, I would do that, but I get it. It's a tradition, and like, I was like saying, I was like, as a hoops fan, I'm tired of seeing them lose, and then I remembered that game. I was like, they actually beat Atlanta last year on the Kemba triple double when Kemba.
Well, it was like 10, 10, and 10. Like
it
was like the fakest triple double ever.
And then Clint didn't play, and Trey didn't play as well.
But
so.
I was gonna say, I get the Nets part of it because if they trade Kyrie and KD, then their value is they're already the little brother in Brooklyn. Not that they're the better team than the Knicks, but like revenue wise, they're going to be lower.
They always are the little brother though. But you would have got a star back, is my point. Like you would have got a.
But you don't know that
back.
You don't. Also, do you think that the NBA doesn't trust them to play?
I did see people tweeting like, "Oh, we will see changes in the schedule," and I'm like, "It'll be a little ridiculous if that happened now." But okay.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, the Christmas Day game, I get it because like the Garden is like prestigious. It's like the Lions on Thanksgiving, but they did take the Knicks off for a couple of years.
That's what Matt said. Matt compared it to the Lions.
But okay, in the last couple of years, the Knicks haven't been as bad as the Lions, but the Knicks have been and I'm a big believer in the Lions. If you haven't, check out my article Inside the Hashes. It'll be in the link below. Sleeper teams for the NFL this year. I am a tad biased because I am a Baker Mayfield fan, so his team might be on there probably. But
my Commanders,
they're on there.
Yeah,
they're actually on there.
Check it out.
But if you guys want to go check that out, I think there's 6 or 7 teams that I think there's a reason why they're sleepers. Before, if anyone is listening to this and wants to read that, there's a reason why they're sleepers before you act like, oh, they're not Super Bowl contenders. I never said they were Super Bowl contenders. I said they were sleepers. There's a massive difference. And speaking of sleepers, give me 2 or 3 sleeper teams for Donovan Mitchell.
Well, like I said to you before we started recording, or when we started recording, I forget. The Knicks are not a sleeper. You want 3, you said, or just a couple?
I'm going to say give me 2 because I don't know if I consider Miami sleeper.
Okay. If New Orleans, they're not going to trade Ingram, I don't think. So that's not really
for Mitchell, no.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, they could be a big-time sleeper. Or
well, that's why they're a sleeper, though. You know?
Yeah. I'm just thinking of teams trade chips. So, again, we brought this up as well. Like you saw the Lakers surface, which is laughable.
I just don't know what they'd give up. They don't
Yeah,
have anything.
are we
They
gonna?
wouldn't give up a 2027 for Kyrie Irving.
If
They're gonna give up.
if I see the SpongeBob meme again, Taylor Horton Tucker, Kendrick Nunn, or whoever else it is, and the first round pick. So it's what it's like. Back to Danny Ainge and the Celtics. Again, like he did the right move and waited and got Tatum and Brown in the draft and even traded down for Tatum. That's why he's such a badass. But like the Celtics deal for everything leading up to that, like for Paul George, for Anthony Davis, for DeMarcus Cousins in 2016, 17, when these all sagas, Blake Griffin, Kawhi, like when these sagas were going on. It was like, oh, we'll give you Jay Crowder, Avery Bradley, and a first. Jimmy Butler.
It's like our damaged goods for your star, but
it was like the Celtics culture, like they were a big part, but he wasn't my guy. But you weren't going to win a championship as a 5'8" point guard as your best player. And,
so who's your sleeper then?
Okay. Shit, man. We talked about Milwaukee before. I guess I kind of agree with you. I'll label them as one of them. That's if you want to really make fireworks. But Holiday is so important to them, and we saw it. First of all,
would it cost you Holiday?
Definitely, and I think draft compensation and others. But like they also won a title with their core, so like I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
But I guess the two biggest ones that you could say, besides if we don't want to label the Heat one, we know the Lakers are a joke. Pelicans was just dumb equation math of me doing. They're not going to give up Ingram. But Washington and Charlotte. So like
Washington was I heard a lot of them with Durant, so that would actually I didn't even think about that, but they have a ton of young talent, so that's actually a good point.
You could trade like Hachimura picks. I think Kuzma and they like the big three of KP, Kuzma, and Beal. But then
I would backtrack on that though, because Beal and Mitchell kind of are the same thing.
Unless you make one of them point, and then you move KP in the deal.
No, you could. What's the guy's name? Johnny Davis, I think his name is. You'd have to move him because he's your first round pick.
Yeah.
Can you move him? Like, is that a legal move to move draft picks right now?
After after a certain amount of days, you can.
Okay, because I know in baseball you have to wait till after the season.
No, you can right away. Because like when LeBron went back to Cleveland a month later, like they traded Wiggins for Love. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense actually. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Best example to look back on. And Charlotte, apparently, it's obviously we talked about Bridges, we talked about Trez and PJ, all free agents. Bridges, there's probably optimism he'll be back. You have James Bouknight.
You think they're going to sign Miles Bridges? You think he's going to be able to play?
It's a big wait and see. Obviously, this is a killer situation, and this is like really bad, of course. But it's like there's optimism that he's 24. He's a potential all-star.
Yeah, I just feel like you got to look at the humane aspect of it, because like don't get me started on Jimmy Haslam.
My point is there will be a home, is my point, and I won't be surprised with any.
It's sad that that's true though.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, was saying how Deshaun Watson's a star quarterback, and he deserves a second chance because of that. You know how bad that sounds?
I saw the press conference, and
the fact that you even think that though, like, anyway, go Brissett.
Charlotte is my favorite, I would say, because not like, all right, point with Bridges, there's optimism a slight bit, only because he's 24 and almost made the All-Star team. But
if he's legally allowed to play.
Yes. And then Also, when the offseason first began, they were rumored to be shopping everybody but LaMelo. So,
Yeah.
Rozier's my guy. You never know what could happen there. Hayward can get traded in the blink of an eye. Obviously, Jordan likes him, but he can go, especially with his salary. And then Oubre's a little overpaid too. I'd never met a more hot and cold player.
Was he the guy that wore the
Supreme and Converse.
no, an NBA player just got married and he wore a backwards hat.
Ellie Olynyk.
Okay. Jerome Kelly.
Celtic legend.
Yeah. So my sleeper team, we spoke about it before, and I'm actually thinking of two teams now because you brought up the fact that their guard would be KCP and Denver. I don't know their pick situation, but I would give you Michael Porter Jr. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. hasn't proven to stay healthy, so I don't know how much the Jazz would love that. You give up him and Bones Highland and throw in like someone else and then give them like 5 picks. I don't know how many picks they have available. But that's why it's a sleeper team. I feel like, think about it. Jokic doesn't have to score to be good. Murray is solid. Murray's a really good scorer, but you had Donovan Mitchell to that team. Like, I just don't know. Like, the West, they're kind of close. They were close in talent when they were both healthy a couple years ago. So them, and then I spoke about before Memphis. I just think that there's a reason why they were in on the KD sweepstakes a little bit. If they were gauging for a KD, then they can definitely have enough to get Mitchell. And I think you pair him with Morant, you got something good.
Yeah, and I like the Denver point. I really do, but it's draft picks, question mark, and I think they wouldn't take Michael because he got
his injuries.
Huh?
Oh, because of his injuries.
That and he got way overpaid for doing just that. He's potential and ceiling is very much there. And who did they let go? Oh, what's his name? They let go Jeremy Grant because of it. Going into 2 years ago when he went to Detroit.
Oh, okay. I think you meant like this year because he went to Portland.
No, yeah, he got traded. When he signed with Detroit, they let him walk. Atlanta was another rumor because, they wanted to spend that money on Porter Jr. when Jeremy Grant was a good fit as it was. And it's just, I don't think Danny will be willing to take that. I think he would love Michael Porter Jr. I don't think for that.
Well, him and Highland would be a good package because Highland has shown potential to be a good point guard. You also have Conley there that can kind of teach him. Porter slots in as your 3 right away. And then that would be there's a reason why it's a sleeper, like I was saying before.
I agree. My thing is, I don't think they need him. I think they're already going to be, like you said, it's all bunched, but, they're already going to be so good. It's everyone's sleeper in that conference besides Kawhi and Paul George is going to be them. And if not, it's going to be Luka, and they're not even a sleeper.
Yeah, I can't call you a sleeper if you just went to the Western Conference Finals.
Of course. And, but I like the idea, though, and I think he definitely fits. Obviously, again, we don't want to call, Miami one. But if you were to pick one for me, I'll take Charlotte, I suppose.
Charlotte?
They've been a hot rumor. Bit of a mess. I don't think they're I think I saw Malika Andrews on NBA Today the other day. They were laughing at her because she was Charlotte's my sleeper in the East, and they were like, what do you mean sleeper? And then she looks at Marcus J. Spears or Mark J. Spears. I'm mixing him up with Swagoo at the NFL, but you know what I meant. She looks at him. Yeah. She's like, oh, they're my kings of the East because he always gives credit to the Kings.
Yeah. So we're gonna pivot now to the baseball. I mean, it's pennant race right now. Mets are in it. Knock on wood. They got the Yankees tonight. Last time I said that, they played the Braves in a 5-game set, and they took 4 of those fucking games. Then they lost 3 or 4 the next week in Atlanta. But we don't gotta worry about that. Right now, as of recording this, the Mets are 3 up. They play the Yankees tonight. It's not DeGrom. It was supposed to be DeGrom, but they moved him to Thursday to get Walker. And so it's Taijuan Walker versus Frankie Montas, who's looking to finally pitch well for the Yankees. And I hope it lasts one more start that he sucks. But anyway, baseball, the Mets, division or not, they're going to make the playoffs. But a team that is on the brink, they're in the sixth spot, is the San Diego Padres, who, if you guys don't know this and you're a baseball fan, you have either no service or you just don't like baseball. Fernando Tatis Jr. suspended for 80 games for taking close to the ball, I think is the scientific term for the steroid. Why? That's the main thing I have here is why. He said he had ringworm. They make ringworm cream. Like, I'm sure you could have sent something out to get tested, make sure it was legal. And, I'm not going to say everyone's perfect in the MLB. Obviously, there's definitely under the table things going on. You're naive if you think otherwise. We've talked about that before with other things. But this is the second time now this year that you've let your team down. First, the motorcycle accident, which still has never really been confirmed that's how he hurt his wrist, but you put the two in together. When you ask him which motorcycle accident, he says which one. You get a little alarmed. And the clubhouse was kind of upset about it. Like I said, this is all kind of old news, but it's still important. And he wasn't even the biggest sideshow, off the field incident in the last 2 weeks. But I'll talk about that after that. But with Tatis, you signed this massive deal. Your dad is a former player, hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning, which is sick. For the Mets, was it for the Mets? I forget who the team it was for. I don't think it's for the Mets, actually. I'm sorry?
It's Fernando. What am I saying?
No, yeah, Fernando Tatis. I think his dad, like Fernando Tatis Jr.'s dad, I think it was the Cardinals he was on. But anyway, you have a dad in the major leagues, so you know how all this works. You know what to expect. You are the star. You know all of this stuff. And you have let your team down now twice, and now you can't play the first 40 games of next year, and you still have the Dodgers in your division, who just seem to just keep winning. And you just, like Machado saying, we're good where we're at. You got Drury now, like for this year. You have Brandon Drury. Now you have Juan Soto. We talked about that. Josh Bell. You got Darvish. You got Musgrove. You got all these guys. They know internally they don't necessarily need you because they've done it all year. And it's just sad that, like, he's super talented. I'm not going to be a guy that's like he's overrated. I don't like, though, when people say his defense is good. He just needs to learn how to, like, he needs to make better throws to first. It's part of it. You catch and you throw it first. If you throw it away, it's defensive error. So I don't like that narrative. But anyway, besides my point. And I just think, it's a mistake. I'm a believer that Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame, so I'm going to forgive Fernando Tatis Jr. But you're going to lose. He's lost a lot of trust with the Padres. Like I'm not going to call him, like, he's not a fraud. He's not a cheater the whole career. I'm not going to do that. But you've lost the trust because you're not on the field. And it has been self-inflicted now.
When he's put them over the top for October too. Clearly.
Yeah, a couple years ago they were a little young. Last year was still a little immature. But this year, now you get Juan Soto. Soto, Tatis. It's like we talk about Durant, Irving, and Simmons. Soto, Tatis, Machado. Are we ever going to see it? Is this ever going to – it's probably going to happen because baseball is a little different with the contracts. But, actually, I don't know. Soto's a free agent in a couple of years. I don't know, if maybe Tatis gets pinged again. I hope not because he's great for baseball. So I don't – like you were saying, he puts them over the top. He makes them – I don't know if they're better than the Dodgers, but they're definitely a top 4 or 5 team in the NL. In baseball, if he's there.
And then, of course, to bring in the human influence of it and, example is,
someone had to tell him, unless he didn't listen. I don't know. I don't know. So obviously.
And, I was going to say for people like you and younger that play the game and, love it more than anything, he's one of those world icons around the sport now. So it's
yeah, everyone likes the bat. I mean, I know there are a demographic of people that don't like bat flips, but not all of them. And there are some young people that don't like bat flips too, which I am in the field of it depends. If you're losing 7-0 and you hit a solo home run and you bat flip, in my opinion, you're just making yourself kind of look like an idiot.
Depends on the circumstance.
You hit a go ahead homer in the seventh inning against like an elite reliever in the World Series or even like a regular season game, fling it over the fence. I don't care.
Bautista in Toronto.
I loved that.
That's the moment. Yeah, like
you lead off a game. A game's close, but if it's a blowout, like 15-0, and you hit it off of a position player, don't flip your bat.
I in the TikTok, you probably didn't see it, but the TikTok this just reminded me, the TikTok that I posted of like the best moments that I've seen live at Celtic games. It was
I saw that.
The Jalen one, the one on Giannis with the left-handed, they're down 17 in the fourth when he flexed on him and like did the mean mug that I
it's like I don't know if you saw the Monmouth Kansas game a couple years ago. Kansas was up like 50 something points.
I know
and they're dribbling out the clock and the guy on Monmouth steals the ball and dunks. I'm like, what are you? And you hear him coming down the court. Excuse my language. I don't give a fuck. You're down 55 points. Like, what is that doing for you besides getting you on Twitter? Unless he was like dared to do it or bet to do it, but I doubt it. Yeah.
I was just gonna say like another quick example. The Kyrie and Gordon year, we played Denver, and Jamal was going for a 50 bomb.
Mm-hmm.
He took the shot and missed, and Kyrie got pissed about it. You might have saw it. He takes the ball and he just launches it in the stands.
I saw one too. A guy did he threw off the backboard and dunked it when they were up like 30 for the Warriors. Katie was on the Warriors. I forget who it was. There's just some things like the unwritten rules, in my opinion, can be a little outdated. Like the 3-0 swing, in my opinion, is fine. If you're a big, it's fine. Like if he hits a home run or gets out, you're losing the game. We've seen the Mets this year were down 7-1 and they won in the ninth inning. I get it in football and basketball. You don't really want to run with the score because mainly you get guys hurt that way. And you can run the clock out. You can't run the clock out in baseball. That's like an old saying, but it's true.
The Donaldson game is an example. Like I was at the Logic concert that night, but when the Yankees
the Grand Slam,
yeah,
that was a huge win for them. It's like with Tatis, it's just like you can't keep losing the trust of your front office after they give you a massive contract, lengthwise, 14 years. I think 340 million is the number. So AAV isn't that high compared to what Ohtani's going to get in a couple years. Maybe not from the Angels because they're selling their team now, and I have a little take on that before we get out of here today. And you probably would agree with me, but your take on Tatis, it's just he's the guy that puts you over the top. Imagine if you want to put this in basketball terms, imagine Jaylen Brown just all of a sudden started doing PEDs, where would they be? And it's a little different because baseball's a different sport, but
need him to get vaccinated. I don't even know if he's vaccinated yet.
Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, and you saw the rule how non-vaccinated guys still can't play in Toronto. So
yeah, that's still a rule in baseball too.
I know this will make people laugh, but him hanging out with Kanye and Kyrie about a month ago makes me think that he doesn't have the vaccine yet. So we'll see what happens when they usually make their annual early season trip to Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and then another big story that came out literally 2 hours before we even recorded was the Angels are selling. Arte Moreno is selling the Angels, the baseball team, which, thank you. You have Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. You can't put I think this might be similar to you were saying before, the Steve Cohen with the Mets. It might be a similar revamping, even though they paid for Trout, but the new owner might come in and pay Ohtani.
They've always been spenders, but they've just never
spent badly.
Made it to the fall, yeah. And
look at the guys they've gotten.
With the Mets, this was a change in marketing, of course.
The Mets never spent money. Now, they signed Lindor, they signed Scherzer. This They trade for Lindor. Excuse me. They signed Starling Marte, and like in the past, you probably would have Canna and Escobar, but you wouldn't have Marte, you wouldn't have Lindor, you wouldn't have Scherzer, and we'd be rolling with Jake Odorizzi, who
Yeah.
that dude sucks.
And I know you love my Celts examples and comparisons. When Brad took over, changing marketing like that.
Yeah, like you change your culture too. It's like a Mike Trout's going into every year with got like guys that like aren't shouldn't be on big league rosters or at least are too young, and you get this guy. I don't know who like is gonna take the ownership group. Someone's gonna get it though. It is LA, so it's gonna be for a
Yes.
big chunk of money, and it will be a good investment if you play your cards right, business wise. Baseball team, we don't know, but they need pitching, so let's pay a third baseman 200 and $300 million in Anthony Rendon, and then he hasn't played in 2 years because of injuries, which isn't their fault. But even if he's playing, your pitchers are still giving up 6 runs in 4 innings. Your relievers still can't save games.
And Madden's gone now and stuff.
Joe Madden's gone. Like who knows? Phil Nevin, he's probably not going to be there next year. It's just like I think this could be really good for the Angels. I think it could be a change in culture, but this is the last shot. If you flip the page and you can't get it done now, that's it for Trout because he'll be 35, 36 by then. And Ohtani would probably be gone. And you would have just wasted a career for Mike Trout. I've always been in the camp. It's kind of cool that he didn't request a trade. He's playing his whole career with the Angels. But can we get this dude to the playoffs once? Just once.
Yeah, and like, when are we going to start the Ohtani to New York or another big market?
If he goes to the Mets, I will cry. Like, I mean, it's next. Like, he's not a free agent. Like coming up, I think it's after next year. But who knows? He might get traded. I don't think they would trade him in the midst of selling the team.
No.
But then again, the Nationals did it. They're selling the Nationals are for sale, and they trade Juan Soto. Now it's a little different. He's got more years of control, so the new owner has time to come in. Would have had time to come in and sign him, but Soto kind of said he didn't really want to be there, and I don't blame him. They're in a rebuilding mode, and he's already won, so he wants to win.
There'll be more bidders for Shohei as well as high.
And the Nationals had Soto, and that was it. The Angels have Trout. The Angels have some talent. They just can't seem to just ever make it work.
You might think that's a hot take too, but like, people are comparing this guy to Babe Ruth. I know Soto is arguably the best young player in the league.
I have a hot take. Shohei Ohtani, what he's doing is more impressive than what Babe Ruth did. I know Babe Ruth, like he had 715 home runs and he did all his pitching. He never did them together. Ohtani's going to hit 30 home runs this year, possibly 35. I don't know about 40, but 35. He's got a sub-3, I believe. I'm going to fact check myself on that one. But, like, this is unheard of what he's doing. And people say what Judge is doing is history-making. What Ohtani is doing is not. Like, Ohtani, every day he plays baseball, he is doing something. I know he left the game with he was sick. He had, like, a stomach virus. But Ohtani, 264 average, 27 homers, 72 RBIs, 872 OPS, 11 steals, 18 doubles, 5 triples, 2.83 ERA, 167 strikeouts, and 121 innings. Like, that's a Cy Young candidate and a Silver Slugger candidate.
Literally.
Are we? So the whole Babe Ruth thing, I didn't watch Babe Ruth play. Obviously, he played in
yes.
a long time ago, over 100 years ago now, I think, or close to it at least. But, you make the point with Ohtani, and maybe he goes to Boston, but you got to worry about Devers, although he would look sick in Flushing. Oh, that'd be so cool. But
Of course he would.
I think that's all we got. I mean, basketball is getting closer. Maybe next week we'll do something with football.
We got a big day Saturday.
I didn't know. Yeah, we do. Rob's first day in the city with me, CBS Sports.
We made it.
Made it, yeah. It's cool. We won't go into detail. We're not doing anything bad, but like just, it's a workplace.
Yeah,
You
we'll
want to
talk
keep
about that next time. I mean, like,
yeah.
we can do
We'll,
this.
we'll talk about the moments we have there.
Yeah, and we won't give any guaranteed dates for the next episode, but like we can do this in a couple days or whatever if you want.
Yeah, maybe like as basketball gets closer, because honestly, a big reason why we haven't really been recording as much is because there's not much to talk about right now. Like Durant, Mitchell, but once they get traded, hopefully it's near the season, we can start doing some predictions. But we're at the end of August now. You know, so we're trying to give you as much content as possible. We're trying to be entertaining for you guys as well. We tell our stories. We wear loud hats. Rob looks like the LMFAO, Party Rock Anthem. Um, but I think that's it. I didn't say it early in the episode, but appreciate you guys listening. Just follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. You know where to find us. YouTube, Sports Bible Pod. My name is Richie. It says Rob. You can find us on Instagram. You know where to find us. Anything else, Rob?
Nothing. NFL season's almost here. Again, we're excited for Saturday.
I didn't know you were a Commanders fan.
I just, I don't know if I told you this. I liked about 9 different teams in like middle school. I was there for both Giants Super Bowls. I like the Jets. I didn't
So
like
you-
your team ever. I like.
So you're a Rams fan now, basically.
I didn't like the Browns ever. I liked the Saints and Packers and even flirted with Pittsburgh. But I did like Washington at one point just because my dad's a big fan. So, like, I think that's the team I finally land on. And as you see, like, when we're in this business, you see everything. I'm not the football fan you are or that other people may be, but, like, it's only increasing. Like, when you're, as you said, when you're in this field, like, you see everything that goes on and you know everything that goes on.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, we're talkers, we're reporters, we're journalists. That's just what happens.
We're just trying to make it in this world.
Like, exactly. And in my opinion, it's the second most fun sport to watch besides basketball, in my opinion today. And
we can disagree on that one, but yeah.
What do you think I'm doing on a Sunday afternoon when the ball is not yet to be tipped come October? That's what I'm doing. And
yeah, of course, good point.
My team's not on a Sunday, of course, but yeah.
Oh, if the Mets are in the World Series, there's a shot I got a Knicks, Mets, Browns game all in the same. And then Watson comes back in December, and I'll root for the Browns. I'll put it that way. I will not buy his jersey. I will not personally root for him, but I will root for the Cleveland Browns. And it's if they win a couple games, you see how quickly people change, and it's kind of sad that that's the way it is. But it happened with Ben Roethlisberger, it happened with Ray Lewis, it happened with Ray Rice, it happened with Ezekiel Elliott. Even though Zeke didn't do anything wrong, like it was basically came out that nothing happened. But it is what it is. Don't do that. Don't ever put yourself in that situation. Just know better. Just be smart, and know your limits around people. Like in that sense, like don't act like an alpha around anyone, because it's just going to lead you to a bad path, and it's just going to put you and you're going to put her or him, depending on your preference, in a traumatic situation. And you don't want to do that, obviously, but more importantly for that person, you don't want to do that. And I know we got a little deep there for a second, but I think my point makes a lot of sense.
Beautifully said by an amazing speaker in yourself.
I've
always noticed since I've known you in class. You're just an amazing speaker.
Yeah, well, you obviously weren't there when I was talking about my public speaking and I screwed up my amendments.
Many times I screwed up in that
Thank
class.
God my professor was asleep. But no, yeah.
Time of the year for sports. Around your birthday now, September, October.
Oh, yeah, my birthday's in 3 weeks. 22 sucks. I'm getting old.
We talked about the whole age thing before, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even want to hear me get into it.
Yeah, I was actually talking about my brother because he's afraid that he's balding, even though he's not. I'm like, dude, my friend's like balding. He's rocking it. He looks fine. Like, he looks great.
Tell him you get past that mental lapse after so time.
He's an available man. Looks great. Handsome fella. All right. You guys know where to find us. We want a little bit of a monologue there, or I don't know what that means. All right. I'll see you guys later.
See you, pal. I'll text you. We'll talk about the job
Yep.
later, my friend.